This week's episode is sponsored by Impressive Jewels by Elisa Carter. Elisa Carter has been my consultant since inception of the Ride Along with Vanessa morning show. So go to ImpressiveJewels.net today. Get your little something. You deserve it. This week's episode is sponsored by Dollhouse of Tampa Salon and Studio, where the inner doll is created. Styling services they offer are sew-ins, quick weaves, relaxers, facial waxing, eyelash extensions, and much, much more. It's time for you to find your inner doll. Contact Selena today, serving the Tampa Bay and surrounding areas of Florida. And make sure you follow them on Instagram and Facebook. Are you tired of being stung by outrageous nail prices? Well, you don't have to worry about that at Queen Bee Nail Hive. Contact Queen Bee herself, servicing the Tampa Bay area. 813-414-1405. That's 813-414-1405. Queen Bee Nail Hive. Come be pollinated. Start your 2021. Go to www.vanessaklinger.com. Click the free book giveaway button. Complete your details, and I will ship a free book to you. Stay in love. Hello, everyone. I am Vanessa Klinger, your intuitive life strategist and life coach motivator. And you're not going to want to miss next week's episode of Spiritually Speaking. Our very own Ron E. Jefferson, Fire the Gospel Experience and gospel correspondent of Spiritually Speaking, is going to be stopping by and updating us on what's happening in the gospel community. He's also going to be sharing a word of encouragement, so you're not going to want to miss it. So join me and the great Michelle Massey-Washington, Spiritually Speaking, right here via the KP Media TV network and all social media platforms. Stay in love.
This is thy kingdom come. Let the spirit of the Holy One pass over. Let your peace cover the earth. Lord, let your will be done. This is the time to take a stand, to let the world know that you can. Tomorrow, but today is the day that you say, I will reign.
Hello, everyone. How are you? I am Vanessa Klinger, your intuitive life strategist and life coach motivator.
And I'm Michelle, your motivator, your innovolutionist meditator. Namaste.
Namaste, co-host. Out to the divine presence.
In you.
You and you and you. Hey, girl, how was your week?
Awesome. Hope everybody was stimulated.
I know they were, girl. I was just out watching. I was just like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. They're doing something. I was went to get my nails done. And there was this young lady in the shop, and she had all her kids and there she was treating them and stuff. And, me, I'm always on the job. So I'm just, she got to talking to her and stuff. And, she was in a good spirit. She's a good attitude. I guess if you got 5 kids and you got the stimulus for you'd be in a good mood too, right? So anybody say money ain't made you happy ain't never had none. I'm telling you right now. So anyway, I'm talking to her, right? And, I started talking to her. I was like, so what do you do? She's like, well, I'm not really doing anything right now and this and that, whatnot. And, she said, I do have my cosmetology license. I do hair and stuff. I'm like, well, that's great. I says, you got your whole crew right here. You got 5 kids. They can be helping you making wigs and all this kind of stuff, and you can really do something, And she's like, yeah, I just been letting things, get me distracted, And I said, I get it. I said, but, you have to decide that, you want to do something and take advantage of these opportunities that are coming for you and stuff, and it's just it's good and everything. However, I just want people that, if you really benefited from these stimulus rollouts from ever since back last year, let's hope you were, investing in you and you know and making your life better and everything and just getting in a better place and position, you know, to be sitting on the other side of something better, you know, because I mean, like, shoot, you know, it's a big chunk of change if you got 5 or 6 kids, but if you ain't got nobody but hot dog, you know, you just happen to luck out because, you know, they reach back to the other taxes that you filed and not the ones that you know, then, you know, he's like, okay, yeah, right. I mean, it's just a nice little tip, you know, I can do something. You know, bought some more stocks, you know, and, you know, went to the dollar store, you know, felt like a rich woman in the dollar store, you know.
The dollar store is a savior. I mean,
yes, it is, girl.
It's a savior. There's nothing in there that you can't afford.
Right. And you can really say, wow, I've been paying all this for this.
Right.
And it's only $1.
Right.
You know. Yeah, but anyway.
I would get on that.
Girl. It's in the air, you know, all this stimulation is in the air, you know, everybody was getting over, you know, a lot of people haven't gotten there, so they're going to be coming soon, you know, and all this kind of stuff. But I just wanted to share that with everybody, you know, just take advantage of the situation, you know. So welcome everyone to Spiritually Speaking. You know, we're going to be talking about Abraham tonight, and I'm looking forward to it because we now have a full show tonight where it's just us, and we can just let the great Michelle Massey-Washington just take us deep, 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 and just blow our minds with all this enlightenment that she's going to be bringing forth. I'm just excited. I'm excited about it. I'm always excited, and that I get to sit in front of her every Sunday, and you know, you're a gift. You're a gift. You are a gift. Yes, you are. All right. So everybody go get your refreshing beverage, go get your scuba gear, pull up your Bible apps, share with your friends and families and whatnots that, you know, Spiritually Speaking is on. We're going to be talking about Abraham, and it's going to be some great nuggets of insight and inspiration for you. So go ahead and do that. We're going to pay some bills around here, and then when we come back, we're going to be talking about Abraham. So stay tuned. To start your 2021, go to www.vanessaklinger.com, click the free book giveaway button, complete your details, and I will ship a free book to you. Stay in love. Hello, everyone. I am Vanessa Klinger, your intuitive life strategist and life coach motivator. And you're not going to want to miss next week's episode of Spiritually Speaking. Our very own Ron E. Jefferson, Fire the Gospel Experience and gospel correspondent of Spiritually Speaking, is going to be stopping by and updating us on what's happening in the gospel community. He's also going to be sharing a word of encouragement, so you're not going to want to miss it. So join me and the great Michelle Massey-Washington, Spiritually Speaking, right here via the KP Media TV network and all social media platforms. Stay in love. All right. That's right. You guys saw Ron E. Jefferson, our gospel correspondent. Oh, there we go. Gospel correspondent will be joining us next Sunday. He's going to be stopping by and sharing, you know, letting us know what's going on in the gospel community and bringing his words of encouragement. He is truly a gift as well. But tonight. We're going to
talk about some lies.
Yeah. All right. So scripture reference tonight is Genesis chapter 12, starting at verse 10. So take it away, co-host.
Okay, tonight we're going to kind of begin to examine a lot of times, and God spoke to me this week about this. A lot of times we're only looking for the good things to we only want the good things to happen to us. We try to stay away from the negative, which is a good thing. We try to stay away from things happening, but things are going to happen. And the good thing about it that God showed me is that you need the negative in order to embrace the positive. And so you need the negative, I see you typing, in order to embrace the positive. Because if you always had positive, you would never know the goodness of God. You would never know. You would never know anything about his goodness, his graciousness, his power, his favor, any of that. And so as we begin to look at Abraham, we become knowing that he is the father of our faith. And so we have to look at the whole part of our lives. We can't just look at the positive things. But if you recognize in your life, it was those negative things that caused you to recognize your greatest version of yourself, your authenticity, who you really were, and what you were made out of. It's not the positive things, because we're not stressed or we're not pressed about the positive things. We celebrate those things. But when we begin to look at the negative things that have caused us to slow down, like this pandemic, and re-examine and experience the strengths that we have, that's what Abraham did in these following verses that we're going to do. There are going to be some things that we say, oh, well, he shouldn't have lied. But we've all lied for whatever reason at some point in our lives. But when other people do it, we have a problem with it. So we're going to look at the positiveness in his negativeness.
And what I have learned from things that are considered negative is I have renamed them. I just call it contrast. Yep. Because in order to know what you do want and who you want to be and what you want to experience, you need to see contrast. You need to see the opposite of that, which would be considered negative. You need to see what it's like to have a good man walk out on you so that you can say, you know what? That was a good man, wasn't it? Yes. Now I know what a good man looks like, especially when you're so used to just jokers, you think everybody a joker, so that was a negative situation, but it worked out for your benefit if you have come to yourself and say, you know what? Now I know what a good man looks like. Now I know what I can appreciate in this so-called negative experience. And that's how all things work together for the good. And I was just using that as a reference. I am guilty of it too, but I was just using it as a reference.
Yeah. So you must understand that life is a polarity. That means there's always an opposite. So if we begin to look at things like we call negative as just a challenge to challenge what's in us, then we won't experience the emotional downfalls of going through things. If we look at negative things as we're going to, as we go through, that this is not our drop-off place. This is not the ending. It's the beginning of something inside of you that God is developing and that he's calling to your remembrance. And so we're going to look at verse 10. It says, and there was a famine in the land. We all know about that. And Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. So again, as we begin to talk about Genesis, which is the gene pool, where everything jumps off about how we're going to evolve from Genesis to Revelation. So it's a journey of our consciousness as we begin the journey. So when there's a famine, that means we have to go inside and dig deep for what we can find that's inside of us. So there's something inside of us that's going to always answer your famine. There's nothing outside of you that's going to answer your famine. There's always something inside of you that is going to answer your famine. So while we're looking outside, while we're trying to find Mr. Right or Miss Right, while we're trying to find the treasure at the end of the rainbow, we must be looking inside of ourselves to define and find where the answer is to our famine. You want to say something?
Well, that scripture popped in my mind. What is it? Hidden treasures.
Yes.
Hidden treasures.
In earthen vessels.
In earthly vessels.
Yes.
So everything that you're looking for is inside of you. Everything.
Of you. Because you're a seed. Because you're a seed. And everything that comes from the seed is inside of it. So God would not put you here unequipped. He would not allow you to go through things where you think you're just about to die and you're not going to make it. if you go inside of you, if there's a famine in your life, now famine can be of many of things. So whatever you're dealing with right now, let's name it a famine. So Abraham is going to have to define something within himself to get through this famine. It says, and it came to pass. Now know that your famine will always come to pass. When he was near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarah, his wife, behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look on. Therefore it shall come to pass when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, this is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will save thee alive. Now here we're moving, we're already in a famine. He's gone to Egypt, and he's telling his wife, okay, so let's set up this lie. Let's set up this lie, because when they see how pretty you are, they are going to want you. And when they come and they want you, they'll kill me, but they'll let you live. So it sounds a little selfish to me, that Abraham say, this is the lie I want you to tell, because I don't want them to kill me.
Could it be that, I just thought about that when we go through these famine situations, that those deficiencies that are within our soul tend to manifest?
Yes. Now you can type that.
I got to remember what I just said.
It happens to me too, because it's just fresh off the press and God is just giving you a revelation. And so as he went in there, he began to tell her that. 13 says, say, I pray thee, thou art my sister. He told her to tell them that they are brother and sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. And it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, Egyptians beheld the woman, and that she was very fair. So it happened just like he said it. Again, we begin to manifest the very thing, or we begin to attract the very thing that we create with our mouths. Ooh.
Job said, my greatest fear has come upon me.
The thing I feared the most has come upon me. And so in a famine, you must deal with your fear. And that's why I keep telling everybody to move from your head thinking, which is very fearful, to your heart thinking, which is faithful and where God speaks. So anytime that you are fearful of a famine, move out of here and move to your heart, where God says he'll never leave you or forsake you. He said he shall supply your need according to his riches and glory. He said no weapon formed against you shall be able to prosper. He begins to fill you up with the word the moment that you begin to fear. So they did exactly like he said. They saw her. She was pretty, and they wanted her. He says the prince also of Pharaoh saw her and commended her before Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entreated Abraham well for her sake. And he had sheep and oxen and his asses. He wanted to give Abraham all of this stuff for Sarah. Sarah must have been a babe at her age. He wanted to give him all that. But Abraham already had all of this kind of stuff. But apparently Pharaoh wasn't familiar with Abraham. So he gave him all of this stuff. And I'm wondering, what is Abraham saying at this point? I mean, your wife has been taken off to the Pharaoh's house. And what are you saying at this point to the people? Are you living so in fear that you won't say anything? A lot of times we get so fearful that we become a monument and not a movement. And so that means
because it paralyzes. It can paralyze you in every aspect. You can be paralyzed in your thinking, right, and your actions, where you're just a monument. You're just
you're stuck.
Fear is the culprit, man.
Huh?
Fear is the culprit.
Yeah.
of our demise.
And it has been, and that's what this world has been built on, is fear.
Bro, that's a whole nother video.
Yeah, and they have literally scared people to death. And when I'm not talking so much about physical death, but a spiritual death, a mental death, where you are no longer doing anything because you're so fearful of everything. And so apparently this is the same thing that Abram was experiencing. And I'm sure he was thinking, well, I'm not going to see my wife again. And, you know, I'm sure his mind was telling him all kind of stuff. And as we begin to go through things, do not let your mind talk you out of coming through.
Right. And do not allow your mind to have fear feed your imagination. Right.
And then he done
forgot everything God done told him now. He done packed up and left his family and took it was supposedly, and had Lot and his wife and everything. He done forgot everything God done promised him. Ain't that just like us?
Yeah.
I know. I'm guilty of it.
Right. We all are.
Girl, as soon as something happened, like done forgot everything, all of the church, going to church and speaking in tongues and laying hands on people and praying for all that stuff. Soon as something comes to trip me up.
Right. We lose sight of it. Yeah.
In my mind. Your mind.
Right.
Not my heart. My mind.
Right. In your mind and in your eyesight, because you begin to look at what you see in front of you, which is illusional.
Because it's all in here.
Right. So that's why you have to stay heart connected, heart joined. You cannot leave that spot. You must stay there. And so as he was in fear, probably not knowing, you know, and forgetting about, he just did an altar and God just told him, I'm going to give you all of this and your descendants. And he just built an altar in that place. As soon as he left that place physically, he left that place mentally, spiritually, and went to another famine in his life. And it says, and he entreated Abraham. We read that with men servants, maid servants, she asses, camels. He was giving him everything for Sarah.
You can have whatever you
yeah, whatever you want.
In exchange for Sarah.
Now, after Abraham is not doing anything, the Lord steps in. Says, and the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. And Pharaoh called Abraham and said, what is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? And so,
how do you know it was his wife?
Good question. Somebody spoke to him. Must have been the Lord.
I bet it was Sarah.
You think Sarah
Yes.
threw Abram under the bus?
No, she didn't throw him on the bus. She probably said, he's my husband.
And she probably was waiting for him to say that also. But when he eventually didn't say that, she had to stand up for herself.
I just imagine it being Sarah, you know, because all this going on, and he probably went to her first and said, why is this happening? And this all, because remember now, I'm thinking also about what's his name, who disobeyed God and got in the well, Jonah. When people who weren't considered worshipers of God, the God of Abraham, when things go wrong, they're like, wait a minute. The art of deduction. They're like, wait a minute. Ever since you've been here, something went haywire.
Right.
What is it? You know, what do you know? You know, and I think that we can apply that same type of logic when things start, you know, when we have people in our lives and something start going wrong, be like, wait a minute. Every time you in my life, I lose a job.
Right. Right.
Why do I keep letting you come back in my life? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So I just imagine that, you know, he probably went to Sarah first, and then that's when he summoned for Abraham.
And he would ask, he said, why did I say that thou was your sister? So you're right. Sarah probably gave him the whole story.
She spilled
Sarah
the
gave
beans.
the whole story.
Mhm.
And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away and his wife and all that he had. He didn't even ask for his stuff back.
Leave. Just keep the stuff, because I don't.
Yeah,
No,
he didn't
leave.
even ask
Because
for
I
it.
don't want to piss your God off anymore. So just leave.
And so again, we keep saying every time we come away from Pharaoh, we come out with substance.
Girl. In spite of our
lies, in
disobedience.
spite of our mess. I always say this has to be a mess with some age on it in order for it to be a message. So in spite of our mess, when we mature, then we become a message. So we have to have the mess. I mean, sometimes we don't have to have it at the degree that we have it because we participate in causing things to go further than they should, because this could have been stopped if Abraham had said something. Sometimes if we stand up and admit, look, I made a mistake. Look, I told a lie. Take responsibility for the things that we've done. God is a just God. He's a favorable God. There have been times I know that I should have went under because of my own actions. But when I took responsibility and I said, this is what I've done, this is what I've said, I apologize, please forgive me. When you begin to go there, God will always open that door. I don't know why we can't see that.
I'm looking at it from the other way.
Okay.
I'm a bit slow. So I envision it this way. In order for Abraham to be qualified as the father of faith, he had to witness not his faithfulness,
right, but God's
faithfulness.
That's a good point.
That has helped me, because whenever I've done some stupid stuff and got myself into all kind of pickle juice, when God came through for me, it proved, not that he had to prove anything, but it's just, it helped to solidify my faith in God.
Right.
So that in spite of every instance, boom, down, but then there come God. I'll be like, there's my Superman. Exactly. Even though I forgot and I'm in that state of fear where I'm paralyzed, soon as something good, I'll be like, look at God. And it's not for us to take advantage of God's faithfulness,
right?
But to have to solidify our faith in him and ourselves, because that's where he is in here. So when we're able to see the manifestation of God's faithfulness and his promises externally, it helps to solidify us internally, which helps to establish us more in him. That's my perception.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It's a lesson. And we begin to remember. Every lesson brings us to remembrance.
Yes.
As often as we do this, we're going to remember. That is our communion. That is when we begin to remember what has been said to us and what our instructions are. So I'm sure, just like you said, he saw that God was faithful when he could have lost his life. He could have lost his wife's life. He could have lost everything he had. But because of God's faithfulness, there have been multiple times when I know even the little that I had, I could have lost, but because of God's faithfulness. But in the lesson, we must know you will repeat the lesson if you don't get out of it what you're supposed to remember. Because God is calling us to remembrance. I know we like to say, well, I got to learn, but we're a seed. And everything we need is in the seed. And so that's why I say you have to go inside. If there's a famine, you have to go back. That's repenting, returning back to your original state from the when God knew you before you was in the womb, before you were in the matrix. You've got to go back. You've got to return back and get the information that God has already given you. Because I truly believe that before we took this journey, God gave us the orders. He gave us the outcome. and we had everything we needed to make this journey. Once we entered into the matrix and people start playing with our minds, and they start telling us this was normal, and then we got all caught up in being conditioned, then they tried to make us forget that we forgot who we were.
And see, but see, you know, this is the way I look at it, girl. I be like, man, this ain't nothing but a movie. I'm the star of my life, and I know who the source is, the source of it all.
Right.
So the fact that we are in this simulation of things going on, we arrived here fully knowing. We just had to remember where we come from.
Right. And what we're made of. And what we're made of. Right. And who is working in us. There is no famine when God is present, because if it wasn't before, when he got there, it became. So there is no famine when you're with God. But we just think. And as a man thinketh, that's who he becomes. And so now Abraham is now getting his first lesson. Now there's multiple lessons to come, but this lesson, we'll find out later on that it's passed on down the line, that his son does the same thing.
Girl, that's going to be next season, and we're going to be going deep. I'm telling you, we going deep. We going deep. We going deep. Yes, the first lesson. I like to look at it this way. The first lesson in God's faithfulness. That's what we should have titled tonight, but we had to go deep. But yeah, the first lesson in God's faithfulness.
And sometimes people always think consequences are negative.
Mm-hmm.
Consequences, there's a cause and there's an effect. And so when you begin to look at that, Abram had to go through this to get this. And so speaking to somebody who's listening, there is something that you think is so awful, that's so the worst thing that ever happened to you. But when you come to yourself, when you come to your authenticity, when you define the greatest version of yourself, you will recognize that everything that you've dealt with, the good, bad, the ugly, you were equipped for it. Why? Because you're still here. You're still here. And no matter what it is you're going through, you're going to something greater, something bigger, something that God is going to expand you on. And so our journey here is not a journey of sadness, although we will experience sadness. Our journey here is not a journey of hurt, although we will experience hurt. All of those things we will experience, but we are so equipped. Dr. Wayne Dyer, we are so equipped. And so
he's here.
It brings me back while you're talking about like people that have inspired this atmosphere, people that have laid the foundation for us to be here and to experience this awakening, to experience this consciousness. When you talk about Reverend Ike, you're talking about to do, to be, and to have. He never said try to do, try to be, and try to have. Because we are here to do, to be, and to have. Now, as Abraham moves through this first lesson, let's look how he comes out. Let's look at the consequences of how he comes out of this lie. Now, am I telling you the lie? No, I'm not. But I'm just saying the consequences.
God forbid.
He had his life, he got his wife back, and he had some more sheep, some maids, some men.
Now, let me just, this is Abraham's story.
Yes.
So like what you're saying, are we telling y'all to go out there and start lying and trying to, take advantage of God's grace? God forbid. Mm-mm. But the thing is, what I am hearing you say, co-host, is when you finally accept his orders based on what he's promised you. Mm-hmm. The minute you take the first step, in spite of you tripping and falling and getting dirt on you, his grace is with you.
Yes.
So be mindful, ladies and gentlemen. If God has called you and told you, look, I want you to pack up everything, get the hell up out of here, and go across the country, because there's something waiting for you that I've promised you. Now, that's why you have to really be sensitive and know that that's God. Is that you talking to me? Who else is talking to you? I mean, we spent so much time. God, is this you? And, he had to remind me. Didn't you ask for this last year? And now it's showing up. Like, yeah. I mean, I was reminded. He will remind you what you asked him for.
Yeah. Bring it back to your remembrance.
And then you better pack up and get out. Get to stepping.
So he got more than he bargained for.
Yes, he did.
And he began to move on. But Pharaoh was glad that he was leaving because it lifted, some things from going on there. Because Pharaoh commanded him to leave. He didn't say, would you please leave? I'm sure he said a few cuss words and caused him to get out as quickly as possible. And this is another thing. Another thing. When you are God's man or woman, there are certain atmospheres that change if you're not treating that person the way God expects you to treat them. Touch not my anointed, do my prophet no harm. Because you will bring upon yourself some plagues. You will bring upon yourself some things. Now, that's why God said, vengeance is mine, I will repay. Because can't nobody repay like God.
Now, wait a minute. Can we back up a little bit?
Yes.
I really want to make sure I heard what you said. Say that again now.
I said, when you are God's man or woman, and another person or people are not treating you the way God has ordained for you to be treated, you don't have to worry about paying them back or getting even, because God will set the atmosphere on fire and they will recognize, like you said, you have lost a good man, and when they're going out the door, you only recognize it. This brought to Pharaoh's attention, if God is doing this, it's something about this woman, it's something about this man.
Well, because think about it now, they were not considered worshipers of the God of Abraham, but they worship all kind of stuff, karma and all this kind of stuff and all this stuff. And they, I'm sure they were aware. They had a sense of awareness. Like I said, the art of deduction. They were like, wait a minute. Everything was going just fine. We were pleasing all of our gods, but then all of a sudden, this woman shows up that you decided that you brought before me to bring her up here in my bed. And now all this is going on. Something ain't right. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And I get your point about, we have to be, and we as well. I mean, if we consider ourselves God's creations and everything, we have to behave in a manner that is glorifying of our Creator, where we go and how we treat people, because the same thing can happen to us.
Right. It works.
I just wanted to get that out there. I don't want people going out there,
no respecter of person.
Going out there acting, arrogant. So spiritually arrogant.
Yeah. And so we have to recognize that the principle of sowing and reaping is in place. That's not just for money. As whatever meter you judgment, you send out that judgment, is coming back to you. And so when we recognize that God is not going to get you, he's already set a principle, a law that is in the atmosphere, it's in the universe. And so the energy that we put out is the energy that we receive in. So for the amount of energy that you put out in negativeness, then that's what you're going to receive back, usually with some interest. It's usually with interest. God never pays back without interest.
Ching, ching, hallelujah.
So it's best to operate as much as possible and as close as possible to being compassionate to those that are around you, whether you like them or not. You don't owe any man anything but to love them. You don't have to like them, but you do have to love them. That means you have to respect them. You have to acknowledge that. And when it's God's person, you know. Just like they know you're God's person. You know.
I just think, maybe this is a Libra in me or something, but I just see people as, I don't know, maybe this keeps me safe from getting, wounded of some sort, but I just see people just playing a part in my life. And, they're only portraying what's going on all up in here. So somebody come at me all sideways being all critical, I go in and I'm like, wait a minute. What am I criticizing myself about?
Yeah.
Because I know that's not from God.
Right.
Because he loves me. Right. So, I always just do a little self-evaluation.
And if we all did that, then it turns the energy off of who are we sending something out to, and it begins to inwardly turn the energy. And then at that point, we have dominion and authority over that energy, and we can change it. When it's out here, we can't change it.
Right.
Because we have to go inwardly. Because I'm just investigating like diagnosis that doctors have given me. I'm going to the root of it, and finding out, how did it get there?
Yeah.
How did I get to that point? What is the cause of this? So if it's the cause of something, let me go and examine what my responsibility is.
Agreed.
Because we're finding that there are more side effects from medications than there is the helping part. And so I just sharing the experience. So I went to my doctor this week, and he wanted to change my medication. And he wanted me to take some injections that I don't want to take. And when you're conscious and people know you're conscious, when do you go to the doctor and the doctor asks you, what do you think about changing medicines? I don't even want this medicine. And my first thing is, okay, what are the side effects? Oh, just pancreatitis. And really?
Thumb gonna fall off and you might lose an eye.
So I said, this is what I said to him. What is it that I can do that will change what you're trying to change with some medication that's going to give me side effects, that's going to make me sicker? I don't want to do that. And he always asked me, do you want, like he asked me, do you want the vaccination? No, I don't want it. Do you want a flu shot? Most doctors tell you need to get, but when you're conscious and you go into an atmosphere and the doctor knows that they cannot get over on you, then you set an atmosphere where you make decisions about your own life. Now, if that medication that he wanted to put on me or to give me would have made a significant difference, then why did I leave without it?
Okay, so listen. All right. So wait, let me just preface by saying this. Anybody from the AMA, look, we highly encourage people, if you are sick, go to the doctor. But we are encouraging you to start to think for yourself.
And study.
Study to show yourself approved.
Yes, that's all I'm saying. I'm not telling you throw your medicine away. I'm not a doctor. I'm not trying to tell you don't take your medicine. I'm not trying to tell you that. Everybody has to be conscious of their own situation and how you're going to take dominion over it. You can't do what I do because you're not in the same place that I'm in. But I'm saying to make decisions about your life, we volunteer to die. We volunteer when God is saying, take dominion over your land. Begin to learn of it or remember what he already told you about your land. So I'm just saying all that to pull in Abraham about making decisions that are best for your life along with what God is giving you. If God
don't allow fear
right
to be the source of you making a decision.
Right. Because if I went in there saying, oh, he's about to put me on, what's wrong? If I'd been all in that, then one thing I want to tell you about fear, when you begin to fear, your brain shuts down because it's in emergency mode. And in emergency mode, you only think about fight or flight. You don't think about what's best. You don't think about, well, this is what I should do. You are
can't think straight.
Right. Your brain shuts down. There's nothing you can do in fear but shake and be afraid. So that's why God didn't give you that spirit, because he gave you a spirit of love, power, and a sound mind.
But it is a great indicator for you to recognize where you are.
Yes.
So that you can say, wait a minute, why am I afraid?
Right.
Ask the right questions.
Right.
Why am I afraid? Why do I keep lying to people? Why am I angry ask the right questions.
Right. And so take your authority back is what I'm saying. We have allowed ourselves, and Abraham, we're still in Abraham. We deviate, but we come back. Take your authority, first of all, as to what God told you. He's not a man that he should lie. If he tell you that to leave all your stuff, I'm going to show you a land, I'm going to give you a land, he's going to do that. Now, if he doesn't tell you everything that's going to happen to you before you get to that land, he has equipped you to handle it. So take those orders and believe them, know them, trust them, whatever your word is for it. The second thing is trust yourself to trust God. Because if God has chosen you for this journey, he has equipped you. The next thing is you can't be fearful of anything that you're facing. You have to face it. Because again, if there's a famine, the answer to the famine is within you. And so as you go through your situations, I don't want to start on Lot this week. I want to give Lot all the time he needs.
Well, we're going to wrap up the season
with
Lot. Yes.
Because
next week we'll have Ron on, and then we're gonna open the door to Lot. Okay. But then we're gonna wrap it up.
Yes, for the season finale.
Yes, honey. We going out with a lot.
And his name means a lot.
Girl, come on.
So summing up everything, yes, Abraham lied. We have all done that. But how many times has God pulled you through from a lie that you told?
Okay. Okay. All right. So his grace is sufficient and it endures forever. But make no mistake, I honestly believe in karma, and whatever you do is going to come back. Now, he gonna get you out of it. Mm-hmm. But make no mistake, it's going to come back around. Yes. For you to learn and grow from that.
Yes.
And I have to speak from experience by that. But see, the thing is, that's the great thing about God and his goodness, that if you are aware of what's going on and you learn from that, it just helps you be more mature. It helps you to be more compassionate. It helps you to be more mindful of the things that you say, you think about, and you doing all that. It just gets you all, connected so that you can really be present and be mindful of those things. No, I don't. Why do I want to tell her a lie? You can have that conversation with yourself. I don't need to lie. And, so I'm going to share this with you. Okay, so whenever my mind is trying to tell me to say a lie, mm-hmm. I preface it by saying, well, to be honest, because that gets me back.
Right.
And before I even say it, I say, to be honest, you'd be like, oh, no, Vanessa was getting ready to lie to me. But it's the truth. It's the truth. I say, well, to be honest, because it gets me back in that place of where I can be truthful. Yeah. And, it takes practice. I mean, it took a lot of time for me to, be lying and carrying on and having these consequences of all of that. But God's grace is good. It's amazing, and it endured forever. And I put it to the test.
I've always, as a child, I never liked to be punished. I never liked to be spanked. I never liked to be in trouble. And so I've kind of carried that through my life. I just didn't like the consequences of a spanking or something being taken away from me. And so that is not everybody's story. That's my story. When I tell my kids I've never done drugs, I've never smoked. And when I tell them that, they were like, never? I'm like, no, because I just I just never had a desire for that. So being honest with people, I did not sleep around through high school. Those are just things I didn't do. Those are choices I made. And so through life, when we make choices, then the experiences that we have, not saying you're not going to be challenged by those things, but the power of choice.
Yes.
Oh, the power of choice is so powerful. Yes. And most of the time, people will try to take that power from you by fear.
Right.
And so tonight, I want to tell everyone that will hear this, you have a choice to say no. That's your power, and no one can strip that from you unless you release it to them. So as Abraham begins to learn, not learn, but begins to remember what he's equipped with, what God said, where he's going, what he's made of, what his highest version of himself and what his story is, then he begins to write. He begins to write the role that he plays in this, because you're equipped for it. You know the lines. The lines have been given to you. You know the ending. You just have to take the journey. And as you take the journey, I'm telling you, God will show up, and even if you forget the lines, he'll come and he'll tell you.
It'll spring up. It'll spring up. Yeah, but you have to feed yourself with those lines. And what I mean by that is with your affirmations, with the word of God, with the scriptures, with anything that's going to inspire you. Those affirmations, they're powerful because they are the source of that. It's like the affirmations and the Bible scriptures, the ones that really resonate with you, that you need to repeat and reaffirm to yourself on a daily basis. They're like the energy that feeds that script, that gives you the words that you need to say when you feel as if you don't know your lines. It comes to your remembrance. And it's not even, it may not be anything that you've ever rehearsed. But because you have done what was necessary by feeding your soul with those affirmations and with the word of God and building yourself up and putting you on the Lord Jesus, then you are activating that script that only you can recite, that only you have to say. And when you do that, it's true.
It's written in your heart.
Yes.
And so as you go back to your heart, your remembrance comes back, and you will be like, how did I know that? It's already in there. It's like Prego, it's in there. You got to go in there. That is why you meditate. Meditation causes you to go in there. Meditation causes you to be conscious of what God is saying to you. Meditation quiets this down.
Yes.
All of this down, and it causes you to hear what the Spirit is saying to you. And so I always say, resonate with your heart, on a daily basis. Connect with it, listen to it, begin to feel the beat and the vibration, the energy that comes from it. Just when you think you lost your mind, you probably did, but go to your heart mind and get that mind back. You can't lose that. You might lose this head mind, but you're not going to lose your heart mind, because that is the connection to God, and you'll never lose your connection to God. He said nothing will be able to separate you from his love. And so when you recognize that, you can go through this life, through a pandemic, through homelessness, through a drug addiction, through being hurt, people leave you, all kind of stuff. We say a broken heart, but This right here, it's
Yeah.
going to stand the test of times. It's not going anywhere. The heart we're talking about is not the heart I'm talking about. This can't be broken because it's connected to God. And nothing here. We learn that stuff that we're saying. Oh,
Right.
he broke my heart. Oh, she broke my heart. If your heart was broken, you disconnected from God. And God's not going to disconnect from you, you know.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And it's all about the experiences. And you know, everybody be saying, I want to be like this. I want to be like Jesus. I want to be like so-and-so. I want to be. No, you better want to be like whoever it is that you agreed that who you're going to be, because your story
Even
got enough.
Jesus said, take up your cross.
Your cross.
Take up his cross.
Don't take up my cross. You see what they, he's like, you see what they did to me, didn't you? You want that and your cross?
So even going through the church, I was always taught, you got to be like Jesus. You got to be like Jesus.
No.
But
like, wait a minute. Jesus didn't like to listen to Prince. How's that? You know, I really, that's how my mind works. I be like, wait a minute now. Jesus back there. So how's that? How, you know, I had a hard time trying to connect that. You know, I really did. I just wanted to be more pleasing and you know, I wanted to be me. I wanted to be better, you know. Yeah, so go ahead, girl, about the church. What they do, girl?
The church always taught me, you got to be like Jesus. But like I said, I believe that God doesn't want us to be dependent. He wants us to be independent in him. And although we can learn lessons or we can remember lessons based on the lives, I can look at people that I know lives and pick up lessons that helps my memory to remember who I am. You know, I looked at a movie today and it had nothing to do with religion or spirituality or anything, but I got a spiritual message from it because the message was, it was about an obese woman and she didn't like herself because she was obese. And what she did to start liking herself is just stand in the mirror and begin to make affirmations about her body. And the reason she couldn't love anybody else is because she hadn't loved who she was. And so we have to take these life lessons and authenticate ourselves.
Yes.
You know? And as we begin to authenticate ourselves, if we look at everything as a lesson for ourselves, we begin to grow and mature into the greatest version of ourselves. So, yeah.
Awesome, co-host. Thank you guys so much. We are wrapping up on time tonight. We talked about Abraham. We talked to Hope. I know it did. It fed my soul. We want you guys, if you just catching, come back in, catch the replay, and learn how we see and how Spirit gave us the revelation and understanding the consequences of disobedience, and how God's faithfulness, in spite of our unfaithfulness and our actions, his faithfulness rings true and is consistent.
Yeah,
it's consistent because it's who he is. That's what makes him not a liar.
Yeah,
it's who he is. And if we allow ourselves to be who we were designed to be, we can be consistent in God too.
Yeah, that's it. Just being consistent. You don't have to be perfect. Just be consistent.
Yeah,
that's good.
And if you a little crazy and all that, don't worry about it. Just keep being consistent and seeking after being more of who you are, who you were designed to be, and that's gonna fall off. I'm telling the truth.
Yeah,
I'm serious. You will be more consistent while you will blossom into who the best version of who you are. But that takes some polishing and some, peeling away and all of that. And that comes from life's experiences. That's a part of your story. Not Michelle's story, not Vanessa's story, but your story. Because the ultimate goal, the objective of your story is to be the best version of who you agreed you were going to be before you landed on this planet.
Yes.
And it's all going to give our Creator God glory.
Yes. And you get some of that glory once you give him the glory, because he'll share it with you. And you'll be like, oh my God.
You'll be like, man, I'm in a cartoon. I'm happy every day. And I got some money. Whoa.
Oh, Lord.
You know what I'm talking about, girl. Woo, I ain't gotta hide my car no more. Thank you. You know,
Won't he do it?
Won't he do it, girl? Won't he do it? All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching. Social Media World, thank you for your comments. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for catching on the replay. Co-host, you did it again.
No, we did it again.
Out the park, girl. Out the park. So join us next week. We have Ronnie Jefferson, Fire the Gospel Experience. He's going to be joining us and coming back and sharing with us what he's bringing back, what's going on in the gospel community and sharing his word of encouragement. So we're looking forward to having Ron. He's always such a joy and a blessing when we have him on. Girl, that hour went by like that, didn't it?
I know.
Yeah.
I was having fun.
Yeah, I still got to reach out to the to KP Media guys and ask them, you know, if we can have a little bit longer for the season finale, so we can really just, you know, enjoy and talk about a lot. So I got to send that note out and find out if I can get the approval. But that's what we're shooting for. We're shooting for a little bit longer, maybe 15, 20 minutes more, depending on what they can give me. But that's what I would like to see happen. Okay.
Go ahead and create it.
I am so happy and grateful that my season finale is going to be an hour and a half long.
Won't he do it? Yes.
All right, girl. I will see you next week. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you, co-host. You're the best. Guys, join me Friday on Right Along with Vanessa Morning Show. Be coming to join you, but you guys have an amazing week. May the grace of God just go with you. May you just be encouraged and empowered and walk in his grace and goodness and his victory. That is our wish for you.
Yes.
So until next, have a good one, co-host. Thanks, everyone. Stay in love. To start your 2021, go to www.vanessaklinger.com. Click the free book giveaway button, complete your details, and I will ship a free book to you. Stay in love. Hello, everyone. It is a new year, new season, new everything. So join me Friday on the Right Along with Vanessa Morning Show for another exciting topic and another word that's going to bring you the raw, real enlightenment and encouragement that you need for 2021. Join me, won't you? Stay in love. Hello, everyone. I am Vanessa Klinger, your intuitive life strategist and life coach motivator. And you're not going to want to miss next week's episode of Spiritually Speaking. Our very own Ron E. Jefferson, Fire the Gospel Experience and gospel correspondent of Spiritually Speaking, is going to be stopping by and updating us on what's happening in the gospel community. He's also going to be sharing a word of encouragement, so you're not going to want to miss it. So join me and the great Michelle Massey-Washington, Spiritually Speaking, right here via the KP Media TV network and all social media platforms. Stay in love. Thank you for enjoying the show. If you have an awesome product or service that you would like Vanessa to promote, go to www.vanessaklinger.com/show sponsor and we'll get back to you. We have monthly sponsorship programs, ad slots, all kinds of wonderful great things to promote your product or service. Contact Vanessa today.